The first alarm reached the Galactic Council as a quiet chime, nothing unusual, nothing dramatic. But the second alert came as a synchronized pulse that lit every hollow panel in the chamber blood red. That color was reserved for only one category of threat: extinction-level warfare. A hush swept across the tiered hall. Delegates from more than 100 species stared at the central projection. The star map expanded, zooming toward the Sol system until Earth's blue sphere floated in the center like a fragile seed. Then the ships appeared. A massive fleet unfolded from the darkness, each vessel bristling with jagged armor. Their engines flared like burning sulfur. Their formation was unmistakable: Varric's Dominion strike pattern. Not reconnaissance. Not intimidation. A full invasion. "They're not even masking their signatures," whispered Elder Valen, her frilled crest trembling. "This is a declaration of annihilation." Emperor Tactician Thalrun rose from his platform, voice sharp. "What strategic reason would they have to target a primitive world?" "They're attacking Earth," murmured another delegate. "But why? The humans have barely left their own space." The hologram updated with acceleration vectors. The Dominion fleet was already crossing lunar orbit. The council broke into chaotic debate, voices overlapping in a storm of fear. "Contact their high command! The Dominion never negotiates. What have the humans done? No species deserves eradication without cause." But cause or not, the attack was happening. Above Earth, on the command deck of Astra Sentinel, Captain Alex Wren stared at the same sensor feed transmitted from the deep space telescopes. The Dominion fleet stretched across the void like a long blade, its vanguard moving with predatory precision. He exhaled once, quietly. So they finally decided to show their teeth. Lieutenant Mara Briggs slid beside him, eyes locked on the tactical display. "We don't have enough firepower in orbit to hold that line." "We'll make do," Wren answered, tapping commands into the console. "Emergency scramble. Launch every fighter we have. Wake the orbital defense grid. Some of those platforms are still in calibration," she warned. Wren's gaze hardened. "If we wait for perfect conditions, Earth dies. Activate everything." Briggs nodded, sprinting toward the operations pit. Wren opened a channel to Earth Command. "Admiral, the Dominion isn't probing us. They're committing their armada." Admiral Tarek's voice came through thick with static. "Understood, Captain. Ground defenses are mobilizing, but half the planetary shield network is still in testing. We'll hold orbit as long as we can," Wren said. "Buy us time. Captain, the Council is watching this in real time. Whatever happens today will decide how the galaxy sees our species." Wren gave a faint, humorless smile. "Guess we'd better impress them." He cut the line. In the Council chamber, the invasion feed shifted to live battlefield views from orbital relays. One probe was close enough to capture the Dominion's opening strike. The first kinetic slug hit Earth's primary shipyard. A white flash swallowed the facility, the shockwave rippling outward until metal frames folded like scorched paper. Debris scattered across orbit in a cloud of glittering shrapnel. Council members recoiled. "They targeted the shipyard first," Thalrun observed grimly. "The humans' manufacturing backbone." Another strike hit the eastern orbital docking ring. The circular megastructure cracked, spiraling apart in slow, silent arcs that drifted toward the planet. Elder Valen covered her face. "They mean to cripple humanity before it can respond. And humanity will respond," Thalrun replied. "If their reputation is accurate." "Astra Sentinel status?" Wren demanded as the station rattled from the first shockwaves. "Shields holding," Briggs shouted from below. "We've got 10 squadrons in the void. The Dominion is jamming long-range comms." Wren watched icons flicker across the tactical table. Fighters launched in tight spirals around the station. Orbital defense guns repositioned, warming up with a low hum. The Dominion's front line broke formation, scattering into predatory wings. Their ships moved like coordinated predators, smooth, decisive, lethal. "Captain," a comms officer said, voice rising. "Incoming hail from the Council." Wren frowned. "Put it through." A translucent projection formed beside him, a cluster of alien delegates, faces drawn with tension. Captain Wren stood straighter. Council representatives. Thalrun spoke first, tone urgent. Human commander, confirm the nature of the attack. Did your species provoke the Dominion in any way? Wren almost laughed. We didn't provoke anything. They've been watching us since the Centauri incident. They're afraid we might grow strong. Elder Valen's eyes widened. So this is preemptive extermination. That's what it looks like, Wren answered. If you're calling to offer help, now would be a good time. Silence met his words. Some delegates exchanged uneasy glances. We are still debating intervention, Thalrun said carefully. Wren clenched his jaw. While you debate, my planet burns. Another Dominion strike streaked toward Earth, visible even from orbit. A towering flare blossomed across the upper atmosphere, scattering molten fragments. Wren gestured toward the viewport. That's what your indecision looks like. The council image flickered, then vanished. Briggs returned to his side. Permission to speak freely? Always. They're not going to help us, are they? Wren stared at the ocean of approaching warships. Not until they see whether we die or survive. The Dominion's first assault wave closed in, heavy cruisers moving into bombardment range. Red targeting beams danced across Earth's upper atmosphere. Fire the grid, Wren ordered. The orbital platforms, crude but powerful, came alive. Beams of white-blue energy lanced outward, tearing into the Dominion vanguard. One cruiser erupted in a blooming fireball. Another rolled sideways, armor peeled open from the impact. Briggs grinned. Direct hits! But the celebration died instantly as the Dominion responded. Their ships unleashed a torrent of plasma bolts, shredding 3 of Earth's defense guns in seconds. Fighters exploded in orange bursts across the dark sky. Wren steadied himself. Pull squadrons Beta and Gamma to the flank. Make them chase you. Stretch them thin. You want us to split their formation? Yes. They're disciplined. Predictable. If we force them to correct constantly, they lose momentum. Briggs relayed the command. Human fighters arced away in tight spirals, dragging Dominion interceptors into messy dogfights. The enemy's perfect formation scattered. And for the first time, the Dominion hesitated. Wren exhaled, a whisper of relief. Good. They bleed. But the comfort didn't last long. Captain? A sensor officer shouted. New jump signatures, dozens of them, just outside Mars orbit. The holomap zoomed out. A second Dominion wave surged into the system, even larger than the first. Briggs stepped closer, voice dropping. What are we looking at, sir? Wren studied the expanding swarm, his expression darkening. We're looking at an extermination order, and they're not stopping until Earth is gone. He turned to his officers. All hands prepare for hell. The first wave had strained every system in orbit, leaving scars across the night sky, but the second wave forced Earth into a different mindset, one humans were frighteningly good at adopting. Survival through adaptation. Captain Wren stood at the center of the tactical chamber, as new Dominion signatures flooded the display. Their reinforcements stretched from Mars' orbit like a dark horizon. They're deploying shock carriers, Briggs warned. Ground invasions incoming. Then we contest their path, Wren replied. Signal all remaining squadrons. I want assault teams ready for close-range interception. He issued commands with the precision of a surgeon. His voice stayed level, but tension simmered beneath the surface. Earth wasn't merely fighting to hold the line anymore. They were trying to rewrite the outcome of a battle they were never meant to win. Wren opened a channel to the defense grid. All orbital gunners, prioritize carriers. Don't waste power on their escorts. Take out the troop ships and buy time for the ground forces. Acknowledgements came in, rough but determined. As he spoke, fighters streaked past the station like flares trailing steel. Human pilots had no illusions about the disparity in strength. They flew with grit sharpened by desperation, performing maneuvers no council species would dare attempt. The Dominion did not expect that. Down on Earth, Amidst rising smoke and sirens, civilian cities scrambled for shelter as shock troopers entered the atmosphere. They descended in black capsules, slicing through the air with searing trails that painted streaks across the sky. In the council chamber, the live feed jumped between orbital collisions and ground engagements. Delegates watched humans convert city ruins into defensive pockets before Dominion troops even touched the ground. A slender amphibian delegate pointed at one feed. "Observe, human units are redirecting traffic lines to flank the drop zones." Another delegate stared, stunned. "They're improvising battlefield architecture." "They do this instinctively?" "They adapt continuously," Thalrun murmured. "This is why the Dominion wants them erased." The chamber grew uneasy. Back aboard Astra Sentinel, Wren tracked dozens of Dominion drop ships plunging toward the surface. "Redirect Squadron Delta," he ordered. "Intercept those carriers over the Atlantic corridor." Briggs frowned. "Delta is running low on fuel reserves. They won't make it back." "They won't need to," Wren said quietly. "They know what's at stake." Briggs swallowed hard but relayed the order. Moments later, four human fighters swung into impossible trajectories, pushing their engines past safe limits. They pierced the cloud layer in a tight formation and collided with the incoming troop carriers. The resulting flash lit the Atlantic like a sunrise. No one on the bridge cheered. They only stared, jaws clenched, honoring the sacrifice. "Captain?" a comms officer called. "Ground Command requests orbital assistance. Dominion forces have landed near New Dakar. They're overwhelming local defenses." Wren tapped the map. "We still have coil cannons on Platform 12. Reroute targeting to Grid Square 86. Sir, that platform isn't rated for precision support." "Then we make it precise." Briggs raised an eyebrow. "How exactly?" Wren pointed at the drifting remains of the destroyed shipyard. "We use debris as guided reflectors. Bounce the shots." A stunned pause followed. "That's impossible," a technician said. "The timing is tight," Wren finished. "But it's all we've got." He input a rapid series of commands. The coil cannon hummed. Energy coiled along its length before erupting in a white beam. The shot ricocheted off a flattened hull plate floating in orbit, refracted, and streaked down toward the planet at a sharp angle. On the ground, the blast tore through the Dominion assault line, turning advancing troopers into molten fragments. The operations pit erupted in disbelief. Briggs stared at Wren. "Nobody else fights like this." "That's why they're afraid," Wren replied. Hours passed in brutal waves. The Dominion pressed from orbit, land, and atmosphere, but humanity refused to break. Every officer, pilot, and infantry soldier shifted tactics mid-fight, learning the Dominion's rhythm and disrupting it. The Council kept watching. One senior delegate finally said what others avoided. "This level of adaptive resistance, it's unnatural." "No," Thalrun corrected. "It is human." The live feed shifted again, this time to a ground unit in the ruins of Laguna Metro. Human soldiers had turned collapsed towers into improvised choke points. Enemy troops attempted to force their way through narrow lanes only to find booby traps, pressure plates made from broken elevators, chemical weapons fashioned from industrial coolant, magnetic mines pulled from destroyed factories. The brutality was undeniable, but so was the ingenuity. A council historian whispered, "They manufacture weapons out of anything they touch. And they do it under fire," another added. The delegates exchanged silent, fearful glances. Back in orbit, Wren's exhaustion crept in, but his focus never wavered. "Status of Project Cerberus?" he asked. A technician replied, "Its AIs are online but unstable. They're still adapting to the threat matrix. They'll stabilize faster under combat pressure," Wren said. Briggs blinked. "You want to activate them now?" "We don't have the luxury of caution." Before she could respond, the station trembled violently. A Dominion cruiser swept overhead, unleashing a barrage that punched through Astra Sentinel's shields and scorched the hull. Sparks showered across the deck. Officers scrambled to contain fires. The station groaned like a wounded beast. Damage report, Wren barked. Hull breach on the lower ring, Briggs responded. Atmospheric containment fields holding for now. Wren steadied himself against the console, jaw tight. Direct remaining turrets to that cruiser. Target its rear vents. Briggs hesitated. Its armor is reinforced. Those guns won't penetrate. Not directly. But the heat will stress the internal coolant lines. It'll force a shutdown. And in shutdown mode, its engines vent raw plasma. Exactly. Turrets locked on. Concentrated fire raked the cruiser's aft section. Armor plates resisted at first, then buckled. The heat built until the cruiser's engine sputtered and released a pulse of superheated gas. A moment later, the entire ship burst apart. Gasps filled the command chamber. Wren didn't react. There was no time for pride. Next target, he said. But the brief momentum didn't last. Captain? A sensor officer shouted. Dominion destroyers are breaking off from the main formation. They're circling around us. Wren studied the display. The ships were repositioning with deliberate precision. They're forming a kill box, Briggs said, alarm rising. They're adapting to us now, Wren replied. We pushed them hard enough to force a tactical shift. And that's bad? It means their strategist is paying attention. The Dominion destroyers locked onto the station. Briggs looked at Wren. If they focus fire, we won't survive a full volley. Wren inhaled slowly. Then we deny them a clean shot. He pointed at 3 drifting chunks of orbital debris. We're moving behind that cluster. You want us to hide? No. I want to break their targeting locks. He signaled the helmsman. Rotate the station. Burn thrusters. Use the debris as cover. The station drifted behind the shattered remains of a dismantled refinery. Dominion ships adjusted, their fire scattering across the fragments instead of the station. For a breath, the bridge held still, quiet except for the low hum of damaged systems. Briggs broke the silence. We bought a minute, maybe 2. Long enough, Wren answered. Prepare the activation sequence for Cerberus. Briggs froze. We activate it now? Yes. Captain, once Cerberus enters the battlefield, there's no going back. Wren looked at the stars beyond the cracked viewport, Earth burning beneath him, Dominion fleets tightening their grip, Council silence echoing in the back of his mind. We crossed that line the moment they decided humanity shouldn't exist. He turned toward the core chamber. Begin activation. The air above Earth shimmered with tension. Fires from the Dominion's bombardment reflected in orbital debris, creating a flickering halo around the planet. On Astra Sentinel, Captain Alex Wren stood rigid, eyes fixed on the holographic feed. Cerberus, humanity's experimental AI combat system, was powering up. Its triple-core matrices hummed like a living engine, adaptive and impatient. Core integrity? Wren asked. Lieutenant Briggs, her hands flying across the interface, replied. Stable. But its predictive combat matrix is still learning. Any miscalculation could fry the system, or worse, the station. Wren exhaled slowly. We have no luxury of waiting for perfection. Below, the Dominion's shock carriers pierced the atmosphere, unleashing troops and drones in chaotic torrents. Cities burned under plasma fire. Earth's surface forces struggled, but every moment Cerberus held back the Dominion's orbital superiority meant a chance for survival. A council feed flickered to life, showing Laguna Metro. Human infantry had dug into the ruins, transforming shattered skyscrapers into sniper nests, ambush points, and kill corridors. Dominion shock troopers moved carefully, trying to anticipate human improvisation, but each encounter shredded their advance. Thalrun leaned forward. Even the ruins are lethal traps. Elder Valen's 3-fingered claws clenched. They fight without hesitation. There's no surrender protocol, none at all. Exactly, Thalrun muttered. That's why they're considered a danger. Back on Astra Sentinel, Wren tapped commands rapidly. Cerberus began its first operation. Autonomous fighter swarms launched from storage bays, their AI controlling formation, trajectory, and attack vectors in ways human pilots could not match. The Dominion's destroyers, confident in their firepower, began picking off the initial waves, but the AI swarms adapted instantly, dodging, redirecting, and counterattacking with precision. "Direct hit on Destroyer Alpha 2-3, Briggs reported. "It's disintegrated." Wren's gaze didn't waver. "Good. Continue targeting the carriers. Every troop ship that burns is more lives saved below." On the surface, human soldiers pressed their advantage. Ground commanders issued rapid-fire orders: barricade this avenue, set traps on that overpass, coordinate with orbital fire. Improvisation and adaptation became their weapons. Captain Wren observed. "The Dominion can't anticipate us. They're rigid. They calculate outcomes based on assumption. Humans calculate on instinct." Briggs smirked. "Instinct, desperation, and caffeine." Wren didn't respond. He watched the feed, a Dominion troop wave move toward New Dakar. Human fighters, guided by Cerberus, intercepted them mid-descent. Plasma fire exploded among the carriers, scattering them in molten rain. Below, infantry squads surged, flanking survivors and turning the wreckage into traps. Each skirmish became a lesson. Humans learned faster than the Dominion could adapt. Then the first disaster struck. A Dominion capital cruiser, larger than any vessel humans had faced, entered low orbit. Its engines flared, burning through upper atmosphere, and a storm of plasma bolts rained down. Astra Sentinel shook. Sparks rained from consoles. Crew members screamed as fire alarms blared. "Hull breaches in Sector 4! Briggs shouted. "We're losing oxygen containment!" Wren's jaw clenched. "Direct all defensive fire. We hold this position until Cerberus stabilizes." The AI responded instantly. Swarms of automated interceptors converged on the cruiser, targeting exhaust vents and weak hull sections. For a tense moment, the station rocked as the capital ship unleashed volley after volley. Then, a precise strike, guided through orbital debris in human-calculated trajectory, hit the cruiser's engine bay. Flames erupted, superheated gas vented in violent bursts, and the massive vessel lurched sideways. Debris tore through nearby escort ships, leaving a trail of burning wreckage. Briggs exhaled shakily. It worked somehow. Wren's eyes remained fixed. It worked because humans make impossibilities routine. But even success brought consequences. Dominion destroyers pivoted, forming a kill ring around Astra Sentinel, cutting off the orbital path. They fired concentrated beams. The station's shields groaned under pressure, cracks appearing in localized fields. "Captain, we won't survive another volley like that," Briggs warned. Wren studied the display, noting every movement, every trajectory. "We'll deny them clean shots." He activated debris shields, rotating the station to use shattered remnants of destroyed cruisers as cover. Beams of plasma struck fragments, scattering in unpredictable patterns. "Momentum is ours for the moment," Wren said, "but it won't last. Prepare for the ground strike. They'll push from the surface now." At that precise moment, Project Cerberus entered full combat mode. Its AI algorithms anticipated the Dominion's next wave before they even began maneuvering. Automated fighter swarms intercepted reinforcements. Orbital cannons fired with precision impossible for human hands. Dominion forces were bleeding faster than they could recover. Wren allowed himself a brief smile. "Let's see how they handle adaptability, at scale." On the ground, human ingenuity amplified the AI's success. Troops used heat from fires to mask movements, rerouted plasma conduits into improvised traps, and used ruined skyscrapers as sniper nests. Dominion shock troopers fell, frustrated, and increasingly desperate. A young corporal radioed from the ruins. "Captain Wren, we've trapped their unit in Sector 9. They're trying to break through." "Hold them," Wren responded. "Cerberus has your back. Coordinate your trap lines with orbital fire." "Understood, sir." "They don't know what's coming." "No," Wren said quietly. "They never do." Even the council watched in disbelief. Delegates leaned over their hollow feeds, voices low. They anticipated orbital strikes and coordinated ground defenses simultaneously. One whispered. They're evolving in real time. Thalrun muttered. Every encounter teaches them faster than any Dominion strategy can adjust. Elder Valen's voice trembled. And yet, they are still winning. Yes, Thalrun agreed. And that is terrifying. Hours bled into a brutal, kinetic day. Earth shuddered under bombardment, cities burned, and casualties mounted. Yet humans, guided by Cerberus, led by Ren, and fueled by sheer instinct, kept the Dominion from taking ground. Every lost inch became a learning opportunity, every setback an adaptation. By nightfall, Dominion forces had suffered losses they could not afford. Capital ships had been destroyed. Carriers had been shredded. Infantry losses mounted. The AI swarms had stabilized, complementing human ingenuity rather than replacing it. Ren surveyed the feeds, his mind already calculating the next phase. We've proven we can fight them on two fronts, survive orbital bombardment, and adapt faster than their strategy allows, he said quietly to Briggs. Briggs nodded. And yet, the worst is coming. Ren's eyes hardened. Then we make sure we're ready. Humanity doesn't wait for perfect conditions. We fight, and we survive. And they'll remember every second of it. Above, the Dominion fleet regrouped, engines flaring. Below, Earth burned, but humanity was no longer merely defending. They were counterattacking. And for the first time, even the Dominion hesitated. The Dominion fleet loomed over Earth like a shadowed monolith, engines burning the upper atmosphere red. Their remaining ships formed a crescent around Astra Sentinel, cutting off any orbital escape. Below, cities smoldered, fires casting a blood-orange glow against the night. Humanity's defenses had held, but barely. Every inch of survival had been earned with fire and ingenuity. Captain Alex Wren stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the holomap. Cerberus was fully operational now, its AI directing orbital swarms with ruthless efficiency. But the true challenge remained. The Dominion flagship, HFY Oriental's personal warship, had entered low orbit. Its hull was the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons and shields no human technology should pierce. Sir, Briggs said, tension cutting her voice, that ship isn't just capital class. It's a fortress. Even Cerberus can't guarantee a direct hit. Ren exhaled. We don't need guarantee. We need surprise and precision. Humanity isn't in the business of perfect battles. We make impossibilities routine. On Earth, troops fortified makeshift strongpoints. Fires from destroyed buildings illuminated the faces of soldiers, young and old, scarred but unbroken. Every street, every debris pile was rigged with improvised traps. Civilians had been evacuated to hidden bunkers. For those remaining, survival was a personal vow, not a hope. A radio transmission came through. Captain Wren, Sector 11. Troops report Dominion heavy mechs advancing. They're cutting a swath through our lines. Sector 11 is critical, Wren said. Activate orbital fire support. Cerberus, target their energy cores. Flatten anything that moves within 100 meters of our barricades. Yes, Captain. The AI responded, voice neutral, mechanical, but precise. The ground shook as orbital fire rained down, each pulse synchronized with infantry movement. Dominion mechs toppled, plasma circuits melting, and troops trapped within them fell with stunned cries. Humanity was winning in small, calculated bursts. But the Dominion flagship remained. Its presence alone radiated threat, a constant reminder of the annihilation they intended. Wren studied the holomap, tracing its shields, weapons, and flight paths. Every strike from Cerberus forced minor recalculations, but the flagship's defenses were nearly invincible. Briggs hesitated. Sir, you want to take that ship head-on? Wren's eyes glinted. Not head-on. We flank. We exploit every flaw it doesn't know it has. And then we hit it where it hurts, the engines and AI control node. The bridge went silent. Even seasoned officers held their breath. The plan was audacious. Cerberus directed fighter swarms to create feints, drawing the flagship's fire while human-controlled fighters approached from blind angles. Orbital debris was manipulated as cover and ricochet points, and electromagnetic pulses scrambled enemy targeting systems just long enough to allow a breach team to board the ship physically. "Boards are ready," Briggs said. "All systems green. They won't know what hit them." Wren nodded. "Then let's remind the galaxy why humanity doesn't die quietly." Minutes later, human and AI forces converged on the flagship. Plasma fire and missile barrages tore at the hull, forcing shield generators to cycle rapidly. Internal systems began to fail under precise, concentrated attacks. The Dominion crew scrambled, trying to recalibrate, but every adaptation Wren had anticipated was countered. A Dominion officer's voice crackled across the comms. "Captain Wren, you cannot!" Wren cut in over the line, voice low but deadly. "Watch closely. This is what happens when a species refuses to be prey." Inside the flagship, Wren led a boarding team. His soldiers moved like shadows, cutting through corridors where alien troops had expected easy victory. Explosions rocked the hull, but the team pressed on. They reached the AI core chamber. HFY Rental himself awaited, towering over the humans, claws scraping the floor. "You think your species can threaten me?" HFY Rental hissed. "You are nothing but anomalies." Wren stepped forward, unflinching. "Anomalies survive. You forget, humans fight beyond expectations. We learn, we adapt, and we endure." They clashed, human ingenuity against Dominion brutality. Soldiers breached the core, and Cerberus synchronized a final orbital strike. The flagship's engines faltered, shields collapsed, and weapons overloaded. Above, the Council watched. The live feed captured every moment, every human soldier tearing through corridors no one thought possible. "This is unprecedented," Thalron said, voice trembling. "They're defeating the flagship before Council intervention." Elder Valen's claws clenched. "It's not just victory. It's a revelation of what humans are capable of." The Dominion flagship erupted in a controlled chain reaction. Hull fragments scattered across orbit, plasma vents exploded in arcs, and XHYR-Intel's final scream echoed across the system. Below, surviving Dominion ships attempted retreat, only to find human and AI forces blocking every exit. Cerberus directed swarms to intercept, and the Dominion fleet fractured, abandoning any pretense of coordinated attack. On Earth, cheers rang out in the remaining strongholds. Soldiers collapsed in exhaustion, laughing, crying, and shouting at once. Civilians emerged cautiously from shelters, witnessing the aftermath. Humanity had survived, and triumphed, not by superior numbers, but by adaptation, intelligence, and sheer refusal to surrender. Wren stood on the deck of Astra Sentinel, surveying the wreckage, then looked toward Earth. Briggs approached quietly. "They'll never forget this," she said. Wren's gaze was cold but proud. "No, they won't. Every Dominion commander alive will carry this memory. Humanity isn't prey. Not today, not ever." The Council intervened only after the battle's climax, sending support to stabilize orbit and rescue civilians. By then, it was largely symbolic. The humans had already broken the Dominion offensive. Delegates whispered among themselves. "They fought without guidance, without mercy, without fear, without surrender protocols, without equal technology, yet they survived." Thalron leaned forward, voice grave. "The galaxy has misjudged humanity. They are apex warriors not because they are the strongest, but because they refuse to die, and because their unity is a weapon of its own." Elder Valen's expression softened slightly. "We must recalibrate our understanding. Humanity is terrifying." Even among themselves, the Council could not hide their awe. As orbital fires dimmed and Cerberus returned to standby, Wren allowed himself a long breath. The cost had been immense, cities ruined, thousands dead, but the message was unmistakable. Humanity had survived the impossible. Briggs stepped beside him. "What now, Captain?" Wren's eyes scanned the horizon, the stars beyond streaked with the trails of retreating Dominion ships. "No," he said, voice steady. We show the galaxy exactly who they're dealing with. Humanity doesn't just survive. Humanity conquers the impossible and grows stronger because of it. The galaxy will remember that. And far across the void, a warning echoed through the Dominion fleet. Earth survives, and humanity will end us all.